Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of We Talk Photo. I am one of your hosts, John Pedersen, and with me is Mr. Jack Graham. You doing, Jack?
Snowing, 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 but
Yeah, the snowy
all
state
good.
of Tennessee.
Yeah, we're getting it today, but it's okay.
Hey, it's good.
The
I mean,
winter.
I wish we'd get it.
It's the
It's
winter.
been 40 and raining here in Oregon, which gets pretty dreary.
That's why it's
But
green.
that's why it's green. Yeah, I'd much rather have the snow. So happy New Year, Jack.
Yeah,
2025, we're here.
well, it's already January 10th.
I know.
It's
Yeah,
gonna,
we've made it.
it's almost time to start collecting W-9s and tax stuff, and the time flies. And I think what we're going to talk about today is probably a good thing to talk about.
Well, I think
Is
so. I think for me and I think for you too, this time of year, it's a time to reset. I think everybody sort of goes through this resetting process and sort of resetting, put the past year behind us and look ahead to the new year and photographically that brings to mind for me, what are some of the things I want to do this year photographically? Or even experientially, are there places I want to go, places I want to see? And if I happen to get a picture, great. But it's a time to really kind of set goals, if you will, for this year. I hate to use that word, but maybe wishes instead of goals. I wish I could go here. I hope I can do this, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Um, it's even a great time to give a little thought to projects. I think everybody should have photographic projects.
yeah. Folks, when we do these podcasts, John and I typically do a little discussion before we start the feed here. And one of the things we talked about, and we can talk about now or as we go through this, the project stuff. I think it's really important for people to do.
Yeah, I do too. Let's just kind of dive into that. And like I've got four projects that I've been working on for the last 2 to 3 years. And as I run across particular images that'll fit the projects, I'll work and capture them and put them into the collection. But I think it's great for people to either set long-term projects or even short-term projects that are maybe skill building. Go out and find different ways to shoot the light. Look at, give me 5 examples of different front light, side light, backlight, diffuse light, direct light, all the different ways of light. Go out and do a light study. That's a great project.
You
Work
know,
on shapes.
a lot of workshop leaders, and I think I have about a page and a half of them, field exercises, where we may ask someone to stay within, 3 feet of where you are and make a half a dozen photographs. They don't have to
Yeah.
be, fine art award-winning photographs, but just learn to look. So, projects I think are really important. And, you know, we all have these, I don't want to pick it up because we're on audio here, but I mean, I have these hard disks full of photographs. And I think many people we know probably have even maybe more than we have filled with images over the years. So what are you going to do with them? And some of them are really, really good. So, whether you do a calendar for your family, um, you can you can do a nice print on demand book these days, either through Whitehall or through Blurb. I even think there's an interface in Lightroom that'll allow you to do a Blurb book, I think,
Yeah,
right
yeah,
through
you can
the
go direct to Blurb. If
so
you use the Lightroom cloud application, you can put collections up on the web in your own
yeah,
little space. You don't have to have a formal official website.
right.
Find ways to curate your images and work on presenting them. That's a great project to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
no
but there's
projects.
lots of little things.
Having goals is really just in life generally, having a goal, it doesn't have to be just photography.
No.
You know,
No. Well, I think, Jack, what started this, and folks, we were talking over the last couple days about this episode, and along with goals, to me, it's sort of inspiration. Where do we find inspiration? Where do you find inspiration, and how do you find it? And that was sort of a theme that came up for me as I was sitting here working on all the paperwork and permits and taxes and all that great beginning of the year stuff. But how do I stay inspired? How do I find photographic inspiration? Has been a theme for me over the last couple of weeks. And how do you do that, Jack?
I get in my car and throw Murphy, is my yellow lab, throw him in the back, and we go driving around. And I, I try to find, I don't look for a thing. I look for maybe an area I'd like to go back to by myself. I've gotten to the point, I still love the workshop situations. I love being with people, but I also love being out on my own and having that quiet, solitary time. And, and that's around here. That's what I do. Uh, Fortunately, we came off a fairly busy year where we had a fair amount of travel, and most of the places that I went to, I took some time either before or after to make some photographs before or after the workshop period. So, plus I'm kind of in the middle of totally redoing my website. Um, my wife was supposed to retire, and I was going to try to get her to do a little of that, but she got rehired. Long story. So I'm back doing it. And so I'm working on that and trying to get things processed from last year. Funny thing, I don't know how you worked out, John, but when I look back on the images I shot last year, I shot about 3,200 frames for the whole year.
As much
And
as you travel, that's pretty impressive.
yeah, and I was really happy about that because I'm getting really picky. But that's not what we're talking about here today. But
No, no.
having a goal and having some kind of some kind of a plan. Um, why not go to, Google Maps and look at some place maybe a day away from where you all live and say, I'm going to take 2 nights in this area and go photograph it. You
Yeah.
know, but do something.
Yeah.
Do
I mean,
something.
instead of just sort of bouncing around waiting for something to happen, you can put some construct around your photography to go out and not necessarily have specific images in mind, but a specific theme or subject. It could be the ocean, it could be rocks, it could be ferns, it could be trees, it could be whatever. But go out and do a study. And, the more time you have your camera in your hands, the better you will eventually be because you learn and you grow by doing. I mean, most of us as adults, adult learners, we oftentimes just learn better by doing.
Yeah.
And so best way to get out there is to do it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And like we talked about, spending less time, looking at technical ways of making a photograph. And maybe instead of saying technical, technique is a lot more important than technical stuff that has to do with
Yeah.
equipment. And
Well,
the way to do that is to get out.
that really kind of dovetails this quote that I sent to Jack a couple of days ago, which says, "The way to become a better photographer is to spend less time looking at technical stuff and more time looking for inspiration to push your creativity." And that
Absolutely.
that ties all that stuff together. I mean, getting wrapped up in the technical stuff is easy in a way. I mean, it's a kind of a no-brainer. It's hard to push our creativity because oftentimes we have to get out of our comfort zone. or try things that might not work and have to deal with the disappointment of that. And so, but that's how we learn and grow as artists, is by pushing ourselves.
And I'll throw something out that kind of has to do with that. In the music business and in really all forms of art, you'll have good days and you'll have bad days and good weeks and bad weeks. And you know what, folks, it's okay. Don't let that get to you. When people get in funks and they're not seeing and they're not being, as creative as they want to be, I think it's human nature to say, man, well, I'm wasting my time here. But don't worry about it. Put the camera in the bag and drive around or walk around and don't let it get to you because it'll keep multiplying and multiplying. It's okay to not have it.
Oh, it is for sure. For
If you don't
sure.
have it for a year, you might have an issue, but for a small period of
I
time, it's
think
okay.
even on those tough days, sometimes I view those as a challenge to myself to, can I overcome this funk that I'm in, or the lack of inspiring conditions to create a good photograph. And so sometimes I'll rise to that challenge, and that'll kind of snap me out of whatever's going on, and I end up being creative by the end of the day.
How many times, John, on the last morning of a workshop, when everybody's got their head already behind the wheel to drive home or drive to the airport, do we tell them, folks, we know you're tired. We know that you've been on overload here for a few days. And all we'd like you to do this morning is just say, I'm going to make one decent photograph. Doesn't have to be the cover of a magazine or a book. Just, just, just try to just make one photograph. Don't put the pressure on you to make 100. Just make one. And maybe, if you're in that kind of a funk where it isn't happening, just say, you know what, this week I'm going to make one photograph that I'm going to be reasonably happy with. And if it happens, great. But don't put pressure on yourself to, you know, write your photographic life in 1 week when you're not not feeling it.
Right. Oh no, no, very, very true.
Just one.
Just one. That's
Just
all
one.
we need. There's another quote I want to read to everybody here, which says, "Becoming a better photographer is a journey, not a destination. It's about continual learning, experimenting, and connecting with the world in deeper ways through your lens. Ultimately, it means creating work that you're proud of, that speaks to your vision while constantly striving to improve." And your vision is not, I just wrote a blog post on again, sort of bypassing the icons and finding areas that you can express your own creative visions, instead of putting your tripod in the whole tripod holes of thousands before you at these iconic locations. But that thing about finding your vision and being able to express your vision, that's what I think we all should strive for as visual artists. I do. I really,
Storytelling.
really do.
We're no different than the writer who writes a novel. We're telling a story. That's why I always stress that, subject, everybody says, well, what's the subject in this photograph? The subject's just part of the story. And the story that you tell in your photographic, it could be interpreted 10 different ways. And, but it has to have that. And, you have to be able to, you know, you have to understand what you're trying to do before anybody else, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That's that's the huge part. If you don't know why you're taking the picture, then don't take the picture. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
Yep.
many times in image reviews, John, how many times says, well, what were you thinking when you took this photograph? Well, I don't know. Next, click.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't know what you're doing, then why are you doing it? It's same thing with with image processing. I wrote this too the other day, which is, if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you get there? So if I don't know where I'm going with my image processing, how do I know when I'm done? Um, But the same thing's true with your photographs. If you don't know what you're doing or why you're doing a particular composition, how do you know that you did a good job?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
these are all
It-
things to think about.
yeah, and I think like we said in the beginning here, this is a good time of year to just kind of sit back and say, okay, well, I'm not going to put a lot of pressure on myself this year to do this, and this. I'm going to really enjoy myself this year, but here's what I'd like if I can. Here's what I'd like to accomplish this year.
Yeah.
Um, and it may have to do with light. It may have to do with whatever, but it
I mean,
shouldn't have to do with buying a new camera to make your images better.
oh, definitely not. Some years for me, Jack, I've sat back and I've said, maybe this year I want to work on improving my technical proficiency in a certain area. Or I haven't done that for a little while, but other years it's been, you know what, I want to create more emotive images. Okay, well, what does that mean? What is emotion in a photograph? How do I do that? And so, I did a little bit of study and research and what that means to me, and then went out and tried to inject more emotion in my photographs. Not, and I didn't name a specific subject. I just wanted to capture more emotion. So, there's a million different things you can do to set goals to improve yourself. And um, yeah, so it's a good time of year to do that.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, again, you want to be your own, person. When you're if anybody who learns how to cook, typically what they do is they'll watch five people cook something that they want to learn how to cook, and then learn from those five, and then go take what they've learned and cook it the way they really want to cook it for themselves. And I think that there's a lot of ways now more than ever with all the Instagrams and YouTubes and different ways of looking at people's work. And it doesn't have to be the work of master photographers. It could be the work of some everyday people who are making great, great, great photographs.
Yeah,
And, take a look at them and say, well, what are they doing that I liked? What is it about this that I liked? And if you're like me, I sit and listen to a lot of music, and most of the time when I'm doing that, I'm either reading about the composer or the musician, learning about their life, which is what kind of made the music sound the way it sounds, or I'm sitting looking at people's photographs. And again, it doesn't have to be, a John Pedersen or it could be Joe Smith. Who and I sit and what do I like about this? Yeah, I used to do that in Barnes and Nobles. I used to sit and pull books off the shelf and sit in the chairs there. But you could do that now at home, and you know, just it's kind of a study. I don't like the word to use study as a big heavy thing, but just kind of you know work on your own photographic world.
yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
If you ever
Well,
ever listen to an interview of Pat Metheny, the guitar player, and people ask him about creativity, and he goes, "Well, it's all about the thing, and it's the thing," and he uses the word "thing" all the time. And I used to say, "Why does he use that word?" But he's right. It's a thing. It's like our thing.
it is a thing, and it's not about what tools you use. It's about
It's
how you create.
it's our thing.
It's
It's
a
a great
thing.
way of putting it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So inspiration's great.
yeah, I do love it. Oftentimes though for me, inspiration comes in the moment based upon my mood and how I'm feeling at that particular time. And I'll be inspired either for grand landscapes or close-ups or, texture pattern, shape, and color work, whatever it may be. It's hard to be particularly inspired for me on the outset. Um, sitting here in the office, I don't know what I'll respond to because I shoot, and kind of going back to your point, I love shooting by myself. I was a solitary photographer for years, and that's the way I could get out and actually connect with my environment and feel that inspiration in the moment. And that's why I think I created more connective and more emotive types of photographs is just being more in tune with my subject.
And if you talk to some of the there's most of them are dead now, but some of the great composers of all time and the great musicians of all time that are still here, the great artists, the great photographers, most of them, most of them, they got to make a living, but they don't frankly care what a whole lot of people think about their work, which is a whole nother can of worms, and
It is.
that's not the time to get into that. But you know, um, you know, just have some kind of a goal, have some kind of a plan, and just go out and have a great year, have a great, and maybe a year from now I'll be doing the same thing here, maybe, and just go out and enjoy what you do, and but find a way to be inspired, no matter how you do that. Um, and like we said, find a way to get away from all the technical stuff. And I have to tell you, if I opened up YouTube right now and read the titles of, of the photographic world in YouTube, it's overkill. It's unbelievable stuff that you don't really need to deal with. It's
Well, you
technical.
you do to a point, but it's oversaturated with so much emphasis on the technical side of things instead of the creative side of things. And we've said that before.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But the world needs more creativity. We don't need more technical knowledge.
And where are you off to next, John? Where's your next
I think I'm
trip?
going down to Arizona,
Oh, so
do
that's
some,
when we're together in April.
no, actually, I'm going to go do a little work with Nampa
Oh,
down in
good.
Arizona in March, and then
Whereabouts?
April to get Phoenix,
Yeah,
just
that's a
the
great time to be
wildflowers.
there. Yeah. It,
Yep.
it should be a pretty good wildflower season there because of all the rain that has happened up until now. It's drying out now, but
Yeah.
we'll see. It should be a pretty good year down there.
Could
That's a
be
great
good.
time to
Yeah.
be there in March.
And then you and I are together in April in Monument Valley. I think
Is
we have
that
one
sold out?
spot left. No, I think we got one spot left
That
for that
one.
one.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. Which will
Okay.
be an epic trip. It always is. We put 2 extra days onto that. One more day in Monument Valley and one in Canyon de Chelly, which I'm excited about because that canyon speaks to me in many ways.
Well, I'll be
Yeah.
in Sitka, Alaska in March when you're in Arizona. So you'll be in the sun and short sleeves,
Mm,
and I'll be up there
yes.
probably in the snow on a boat watching the whales bubble feed, hopefully.
Well, oh,
Y-
I'd like whales too.
Yeah.
Would
So
like
and then
whales
we
too.
then we have the Palouse in June, and
Yep.
if anybody is interested in that, we did change the dates on that. So check on the websites; they're updated with the new dates. There's a couple openings left on that, and then we're out together again in the Sierra in the fall. There's a couple openings left there,
Yep.
and Teton. So it's going to be a great year.
Oh, and the Alaska Katmai,
And
the grizzly bears.
is there that's filled, isn't it?
Nope. Nope. Still have two left in that one too.
Okay, so two left for that, and so it's good. It's all good.
Going to be a big year. It's going to be great. I'll have to figure out what goals I want to set for myself this year.
Well, you know what? My goal is going to be continued to from what it was last year, and that is I'm simplifying my life. I'm simplifying the way I live as a not just as a person, and I found myself making much more simple photographs without even thinking about it. So I'm going to this year think about it and see what happens. So,
Yeah,
you know,
that'll
I
be
don't,
fun.
that's kind of what I'm planning on doing.
Oh, nice,
And
nice.
what
Well, I'll have
what
to
I am
report
doing.
back what my goals are.
I
Yep.
use I found a 54-year-old Nikon 50 millimeter lens that in color the color now the color stuff color isn't as good as the new lenses, but this lens is tack sharp, and if you're shooting monochrome, it's amazing. So
Wow.
it's simplification that keeps
Yeah.
going. You know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so folks, I think you get the message. Have a plan, have a goal. Don't worry about good days and bad days. Now, if you have good years and bad years, I'd probably worry about it. But good days, bad years, good weeks, bad weeks. Don't put pressure on yourself, and have a good time. Enjoy yourself, and don't worry about taking a photograph. And if you do come on a workshop with us, and John and I look at one of your photographs and give you our 2 cents for what that's worth. If you don't like what we tell you, you can tell us to go
Jump in the
shove it.
lake.
Because if you like it, that's all that's important. So
Yep. Yep.
yeah, yeah, it's all good.
It's all good. All right, Jack. Well, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to
Yep.
everybody out there listening. And we wish you all the best. Hope to see you this year.
Couple good guests coming up, so
Yep.
we'll be back in a week or two or less. And thank you all for taking the time to listen to our diatribe here today.
You
We'll talk
betcha.
to you
All
soon.
right. Thank you. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.